He's stressing me out. Yeah. That's the belly for me.
Can I talk to you?
Who?
To you?
Who?
Can I talk to you?
He didn't call me. It's been a while. But he's in a quarantine right now.
Can I?
Yeah. If you want to.
Look at this.
Hold on, I'm coming.
Okay.
There you go. Huh? So where should I sit? Does anybody sit here? Yeah.
I'm watching you.
Oh, yeah, you said you wanted to show me something, Rana.
What are you doing about
Ooh. I'm getting my nails done. You don't want to get that one.
I always beat the bell. Never late.
It's too long. I don't like it. I just never liked it. But you want to get it? I think it will look good, but think about how it's going to hurt me. But if you want to, like, it will look good on you. So you want to get a new, like, huh? You already asked. What's wrong with you?
All right. I'm going to warn you guys now. I have to film myself teaching.
Let me move my stuff.
Because, oh, you can sit. Remember how I told you I'm a student too? Yes. So I have to film myself teaching and then send that to my professors, and Mr. Konski's going to stay in here and observe my teaching as well
Yeah, I am.
for feedback and stuff like that. So say welcome to Mr. Konsky. All right.
Let's have a warmer welcome from you, John.
No, but I said hi outside though. That's why.
Okay,
Wait. Where did you get speakers? Oh. All right. All right. You got to put your phones away. Turn off your music. We are starting a new week. We are going to be talking and spending the whole week talking about the Holocaust. So if you haven't done it yet, go grab your manila folders. While you guys are grabbing your manila folders, take out your old warm-up sheets. Make sure your name is on it so I can collect it. I'm going to take attendance real quick. So when I say everyone grab your folders, I mean like physically stand up. Even if you send a friend. You guys have young legs. You can do it.
I need my folder. Somebody left me. We just get through. Everybody has a folder. Oh, thank you. Okay.
She see you come in late.
Yeah, Diana. That's all. All right. Take out your old warm-up sheets and make sure your name is on it. Marilyn, where's your folder? You had one. Okay. I know. Okay. All right, take out your old warm-up sheets. I'm going to pass out new ones to you. The warm-up questions already on the screen since we're talking about the Holocaust. And you guys had a introduction video to the Holocaust last Friday, if you can remember that far back. But the question's kind of an opinion question, right? And it's okay. You don't have to answer any sort of way that you feel pressure to answer. But it's kind of a question of what do you think you would do in the same circumstances, right? So the question is, many people put their safety on the line to hide Jews during the Holocaust. Would you have hidden a Jewish family in your own home? So you can answer yes or no and then explain why one way or the other. But while you guys are doing that, also take out your old warm-up sheets. Or should I just take them out? Ryan's got his out. And Danielle, thank you. Yes. What's up? Oh, thank you. You got yours? No. I know since you don't have your folder. Did you end up taking it home? Is that why? Okay. Or bring them out of more. Why don't you hold on to that? And then I'll get you a new one. Turn them around. So keep it in the classroom, then you won't get used to it. I have a folder for you. Nice. Where's that for? Congratulations. I have napkins. You want a napkin? All right. Actually, before we get into this, what would you do kind of question, let's review. Okay? So last Friday, you guys reviewed all of the Allied and Axis powers. Let's see how many of you remember. So I'm going to name a country, and I want you to raise your hand and you tell me if it's Allied or Axis. Japan. Amari. Axis. Nice. United States. John. Nice. The Soviet Union. Maryland. Allies. Nice catch. Let's see. Germany. Danelle. Axis. Nice. Italy. Oh man, that was like a tie. All right, Amari. Nice. And then the United Kingdom or England. John. Nice. You guys got them all. Except there was kind of like that Allied power that got occupied by the Nazis. What country was that? Does anybody remember?
Wait, what?
The Allied power that got occupied by the Nazis, so they had to pull out. They couldn't. Their military was occupied by the Nazis. No. Do you remember? It was actually took place. Dunkirk took place in it. Country. No. It's France. Do you remember?
Oh.
Yeah. Remember the Germans invaded France and the British really tried to push them back, but it didn't work. All right. Good job. Now, so World War II is happening, right? We talked about that all last week. This week we're going to talk about the Holocaust. Now, the Holocaust, while horrific in a lot of ways, did not cause World War II. And it did not cause the Allies to enter into the war, right? But history shows just how bad Hitler really was, right? Kind of after the fact. And the Holocaust during this week, it's going to be kind of a sobering week just because we're going to be talking about the background of the Holocaust. And then on Wednesday, we're going to start a movie called Schindler's List. And it's a long movie. It's a true story, but it's a very hard movie to watch. So I'm curious, based on what you guys know about the Holocaust, knowing that there were families that put their lives on the line to hide families that were Jewish, how many of you would actually do that? By show of hands, if you said that you would hide Jewish families in your own home, raise your hand. All right, we got Alex and Jessica. Would you be willing to share why?
Well,
Why would you do that?
because they have lives like me.
Okay. I mean, that's a simple answer, but it's a very important answer, right? Just the humanity of others. Jessica, why would you hide Jewish families?
Could have been you and my family too.
All right, because you're putting yourself in other people's shoes, right? What if it was my family? All right. How many of you would think it would be too big of a risk? Say no. That's totally, I want you to know, this is a totally fair response. So why would you think it's too big of a risk? Amari? Interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, if you were to get caught, it would be 2 families gone. Because practically speaking, if you got caught, you could go to jail or go to a concentration camp also, or an extermination camp, right? And so you're losing now 2 families. Anybody else want to add to that? Dana?
I feel like I would also need to worry about myself too, like keeping myself safe. I'd rather be, like one than 2.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a fair response. Do you guys remember the Holocaust survivors' response when he asked the teenagers what they would do?
He said no.
Yeah, it wasn't that interesting, right? He said he's not sure he would do it either. And he benefited from someone's risk and willingness, right? These are complicated questions with no easy answer, but it is good to think about those things as we talk about the Holocaust this week. All right, go ahead and put your warm-up sheet in your manila folder. See what?
I thought you said that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they're called manila folders. They just are. It's a good question. All right. We're going to talk about the background of the Holocaust. And so I'm going to pass out to you guys a sheet that I would like for you to take notes on, because this will come in handy as you guys work through some activities for the Holocaust this week.
Is this channel still recording?
Yeah, I think so. I'll check it though. This happened to me last time I did this, and I'm pretty sure it kept recording, but it is good to see. Actually, John, you could be my camera person.
Were you collecting?
Make sure it doesn't go black.
Okay.
Yeah, from last week. Yeah, thanks. Put the mouse pad.
I mean, when is it?
Did it do anything? Oh no, it's gonna ask for my password, of course. Oh, it's still recording. All right. So as we take notes on the Holocaust, what I'd like for you guys to do on your paper is to write the word Holocaust in the very middle. And then circle it. So do that first. Make sure your name is on it also. And you're going to keep these in your manila folders. All right. I'm cool with you eating. Don't make a mess. The janitor actually thanked me for keeping our room clean. Let's keep it up.
I deserve the things too. Always going
Yeah,
when
we
John's
got-
trash.
Sorry, I know it's trash.
All right. So let's talk about the Holocaust. Now, when it comes to taking notes, Marilyn, there are a lot of words in your notes that are like green. Those are the ones I want you guys to make sure make it in your notes. You're creating webs. And so as we talk about different things, I want you guys to like create notes that are an offshoot of the Holocaust because they're all details about the Holocaust. And then from there, you can add little details about the different topics that we're going to be talking about with the Holocaust. I don't know if you have one because you were absent for so many. I'll get you one too because I think Marilyn needs one. I'll get you one in a second. All right, so we're going to talk about the Holocaust. Now, a couple of weeks ago, you guys did an investigation where you had to blame who or what on World War II. And if you think back to Hitler, right, when he came to power, how did he first come to power? Did he just like roll in and take it for himself? Does anybody remember how he came to power? Because he became a dictator, right? And often dictators rise to power through force. But Hitler doesn't become a leader that way. Alex?
I think he was like a first public speaker.
Yeah, right. He came to be well known in Germany for his public speaking, for sure. And he was actually really good at it. Or, I don't know German, but like people in Germany really trusted him, and he was enigmatic and really, he's really good at like getting people's trust. But the political position he had prior to becoming like the dictator of Germany was that he was a chancellor, okay? And there was a president in Germany. And when that president died, he was able to just kind of like step right into the role. And then from there, he was able to gain popularity by convincing people that the Jews and specifically were to blame for all the problems in Germany. Mrs. Wiley. I actually am in the middle of teaching. That's okay. Yeah, feel free to email me. All right. So that he was able to blame the Jews. Now, who lost World War I? Who was mainly to blame for World War I? Germany, right? Germany. And as a result, the Treaty of Versailles made them pay for all of the damages of the war, right? And so Hitler was like, hey, life stinks in Germany right now, and guess I'm going to blame all of this on the Jews. And because the people in Germany were feeling vulnerable to their plight, it made this kind of claim a little bit easier to believe. There's also something else that was a prevailing thought that I think Mrs. Welch taught you during the imperialism unit. It's like a theory related to Darwin. Do you guys, does it ring any bells? What was it called?
She's not reading that hard.
It was a while ago. It was called social Darwinism.
Oh, see, now it's
Okay. So social Darwinism was, now we know, is a load of crock. But it's basically the idea that there are biologically superior races within the human race, right? And because this was kind of like a prevailing idea, it made the belief that Jews were to blame and that Jews were beneath the German race of people easier to believe because they thought it was science, right? Which it was not. So, what we're going to see with the Holocaust is that there are phases. It's kind of like a spectrum. It gets progressively more horrific. It doesn't start horrific, right? It starts with like discriminatory laws, discriminatory practices that kind of erupt into the separation of the Jews, which will then turn into genocide. Okay? So the first thing I want you guys to see is that in September 1935, Germany passes their first discriminatory laws against the Jews, right? This strips the Jews, and any non-German, for that matter, of their citizenship. So, if you are ethnically a Jew or ethnically someone who isn't a German, you can no longer be a German citizen. And it also didn't allow people to intermarry. So a Jew could not marry a German, right? It was against the law to do that. Now, how they defined who was a Jew was that you would be considered ethnically a Jew if you had 3 to 4 Jewish grandparents. Okay, so make sure you guys have put Nuremberg laws on your notes. If it's in green, it needs to go down on your notes. So you can write it. And the reason they're called the Nuremberg laws is because they were the laws they were declared a law in Nuremberg, which is a city in Germany, but they became the law of all over Germany. And remember, they were discriminatory laws. Now, from your American Studies class, did the United States have discriminatory laws on the books?
Mm-hmm.
What were they called?
The black versus
No, I mean, that's not the official term. But do you remember the discriminatory laws that came as a result of after the Civil War? They were called, civil rights helped correct it, right? But they were called Jim Crow laws, right? So even in our own United States history, we have a history of laws that have been discriminatory, right? People can be discriminatory without laws. But when the government starts to do it, it can get a little scary, right? And so 3 years after these laws were put in place, it starts to create racism and discrimination against the Jews, right? It's already brewing in Germany, but it gets to the point of violence and riots. And this night is known as Kristallnacht, November 9th, 1938. It's called the Night of Broken Glass. So Nacht in German means night, just to give you an idea. So the Night of Broken Glass, which is where the Germans went around all over Germany at different points, and they were smashing Jewish businesses and synagogues. Do you guys know what a synagogue is?
Yes.
What's a synagogue word?
Isn't it like where Jewish people pray?
Yeah, it's a church for Jewish people, or a religious location for Jewish people. So anything that was associated with the Jewish people, their businesses, right, their churches, any property were destroyed in these riots. Remember, Hitler's blaming them for their plight. Has the war started yet? It's 1938. Has the war started yet?
No.
No, right? The war starts in 1939. This is all pre-World War II at this point. So the discrimination of the Holocaust is underneath what's happening with World War II. But Kristallnacht is really where the Holocaust begins. This is where the destruction begins. The discrimination starts before it, but it all kind of snowballs. All right. So the next phase, after these laws are created, are that the Jews are actually put into ghettos, right? So we know about the Holocaust, we know about concentration camps, and we know that they were exterminated, but we forget that there were stages before that. And the Jews were moved into ghettos and forced to wear yellow badges in the shape of the Star of David. So make sure you write down ghettos and yellow badges. But if you want to know what the Star of David looks like, this is what the Star of David looks like. It's like an upside down triangle and a regular triangle together. And they were forced.
But you just want us to write the sign or the dash?
You can draw it, but yeah, write yellow badges. And the reason the yellow badges are important is because when the discriminatory laws were passed, they started forcing Jews to publicly display their Jewish heritage on their clothing. So they were forced to wear a badge on their, I think it was their right, their right chest, and they had to sew it into their clothes. So if you were 6 years and older, you were forced to display your Jewish ethnicity so that the Germans knew who you were, so that they could continue to use their discriminatory laws against you, right? So that, look, you see pictures of it here. This is what the Star of David looks like. And they actually were, inside the star, it said this word here, Judah, which actually means Jew in German. And so they had that star, and the Jews were forced to make their own stars, sew them on their own clothes, right? And they knew this was used to discriminate against them. And then they were forced to live inside these ghettos for a particular amount of time. So people had to leave their homes, their jobs, their synagogues, everything, to live inside like really poor cities, at least for a time. So you notice that this is all barbed wire, wooden fences and stuff. They were all built specifically to separate the Jews from everybody else. And so what was happening was that anti-Semitism became the law all over Germany. Do you guys know what anti-Semitism is? It just means anti-Jewish or being anti-Jewish, religion, anti-Jewish person. So this became the law in Germany. So make sure you have that written down as well. So we have 35, the laws are laid down. 38, we have the Night of Broken Glass. And then we have, between that time, we have the Jews being separated and sent to live in ghettos. And by 1942, which is well into the war, Hitler gets together with his leaders, and they decide we have to do something about the number of Jews within Germany. And so they decide to plan a mass genocide. So the final solution, which you need to have written down, needs to also have genocide next to it, because this is the idea that eventually they're going to exterminate all of the Jews in Germany. So genocide means a killing of a race of person or an ethnicity of person or a religious group of people. The goal is to get rid of every single one of them. Okay? Is this the only time in history there's ever been a genocide? No. Do we have them now still?
Yes.
Unfortunately, yes. Yeah. This is not an isolated event in history. And even in 2021, when we seem to be more like supposedly better people, still happens today. Okay? There are groups still that are discriminated against based on their race, ethnicity, or religion, and then that has been used and justified for the killing of others in parts of the world. So the final solution was a plan to kill every Jew in a genocide in the concentration camps. Does anybody know how they planned to do this? Marnie. So they used gas. I actually visited a concentration camp when I went to Germany. It was Dachau. And the first thing when you walk in is actually the gate says Arbeit macht frei, which is German, right? It actually means work will set you free. Was that true? No. Why would they have that? Every single concentration camp had that sign on a gate walking in. Why would they say that if it's a lie?
To get them like, so like they were willing to
Say it louder, Amon.
so they were willingly come
Yeah, that's right. They wanted them to willingly come in, right? They're trying to keep everyone as docile as possible and compliant as possible. Okay? So they thought, okay, we'll just go in and we'll work at this camp for X amount of time, and then I'm going to get my freedom. That's what they were told, right? But the final solution was a plan for every Jew to be killed, and they had to have a way to kill them where it wasn't going to cause a massive revolt. And so at the back of Dachau, so you walk into the gate, through the gates, and all of the housing, or whatever you call it, was at the front, and the gas chambers were at the very back of the concentration camp. And they would tell people they were going to take showers. Why would they tell people they were going to go take showers?
in. So that's really great.
Yeah, so it's designed for everyone to get into one spot, as you know, with people being as docile as possible, right? They didn't want people revolting. And as far as I know, there was only ever one almost successful revolt by Jews in a concentration camp, and I think it was in Russia, or near Russia. So in the concentration camp, if you were young and healthy, you were forced to work for a particular amount of time. If you were old or unhealthy, you were the first to go. And then others were killed in gas chambers or other ways, right? So a lot of these people are going to die from starvation or disease, right? It's not just gas chambers that are going to kill people, okay? So these are pictures, actual pictures of the concentration camps. So like you would go into a really small building, and this is where they would sleep. But it was all just like wooden slats. People were, obviously very malnourished inside the concentration camp. And then you guys probably also know that each Holocaust person was tattooed with a number. That was their identification number as well. So there were 6 million people, Jewish people specifically, who were killed in the Holocaust. So write down that number. That's a very important number, 6 million Jews, okay? Because there were more people that were killed in the Holocaust. That was 6 million Jews were killed. There were 5 million others who were killed. So we often think of the Holocaust as being just discriminatory against the Jews, and primarily, yes, that is true, but there were other groups that were discriminated against as well. Pretty much if you were not an Aryan German, you were kind of screwed. So homosexuals were discriminated against, gypsies, people with disabilities, and anyone who opposed the Nazis at all. Allied leaders, this is an interesting point because I told you, the Holocaust didn't cause the war. It wasn't like the United States government was like, man, what's going on in Germany is a disgrace. I can't believe Hitler is exterminating people. We've got to go get rid of him. They didn't know it was going on. Hitler did a really good job of hiding it. Okay, so when the Allied forces moved closer and closer to where Hitler was and Poland, they started to hear rumors about what was going on, but they didn't quite understand the degree to what Hitler was doing. Because Hitler was hiding everything. Because I think he knew he would get an international outcry if other people heard about what he was doing. So when they had victory in Europe, remember, how did they get victory in Europe? What happened? That's a review question. What happened? How did Germany surrender? Why did Germany surrender? Yeah, Hitler committed suicide, right? They were already losing. Hitler committed suicide. There was no reason more for the Germans to keep fighting the Allied powers. So when they freed camp prisoners, Allied soldiers were shocked. All right, I was going to show you a clip from a show called Band of Brothers. There's a scene where they actually go in. This is a true story. It's just a Hollywood version of it, where they go in and they actually liberate a concentration camp. And it shows and it illustrates what they didn't know. They didn't know this was going on. And this concentration camp was actually super close to a German village. And the soldiers are very surprised, the American soldiers are very surprised that none of the Germans acted like they knew anything, were kind of complicit in it. So they're really angry. And not in this scene in particular, but in this whole section of the show. But I just wanted to show you guys, to give you guys an idea.
The war camp.
So these are the Americans coming in. And they're like going up to this fenced area, and they're like, what is happening? They just don't know what's going on. What's on their outfits? You guys notice the star? Even in the concentration camp, they have to know one.
Thank you, sir. Open it up.
Stand back. Give us some room here. Stand back. Back. Back.
Lead guard! Listen, find the lead guard. Yes, sir. Agent need you up front right now.
Sure.
All right, boys. These people need care. Give them water and any spare rations you might have. Grab me some blankets, quick.
Oh my God.
Dick?
Can you believe this place?
Die Wachen haben das Lager heute Morgen verlassen.
You said the guards left this morning.
Der war eigentlich
Langsam geht der, langsam.
Zuvor verbrannten sie noch einige der Baracken.
They burned some of the house first.
Mit den Gefangenen immer noch drin. Lebend.
Were the prisoners still in them, sir? Alive.
Jesus Christ. Aber einige von den Gefangenen haben sie versucht
Some
anzuschießen.
of the prisoners to try to stop.
Sie wurden getötet. Sie wurden
Some were killed.
getötet. Die Wachen hatten nicht genügend.
They didn't have enough ammo for all the prisoners, so
Töteten so viele sie konnten.
killed as many as they could.
Und dann verließen sie einfach das Lager.
So they left the camp.
Schlossen das Tor hinter sich und gingen
Locked the
Richtung
gate
Süden.
behind them and headed south.
Someone in town must have told them we were coming.
And I think so.
Can you ask him what kind of campus is? What are we here?
Was ist das hier?
Das hier? Das ist ein Arbeitslager für unerwünschte Teppich.
Says it's a work camp. Going to lunchtime. I'm not sure what the word means, sir. Unwind? Slight, maybe? Criminals? I don't think criminals, sir. Verbrechen?
Nein. Ärzte, Musiker, Beamte, Bauern,
Dancers, musicians,
Schreiber, Schneider,
tailors,
Sexuelle,
clerks, farmers, and electric and normal people.
Juden.
Jews.
Polen, Zigeuner.
Polish Jesus.
Aber ich glaube, das stimmt. Und das Frauenlager ist bei der nächsten Bahnstation dort.
Wie bitte? Sagen Sie.
Das ist das Frauenlager bei der nächsten Bahnstation. Lieber,
Women's camp is at the next railroad stop.
All right, I'm gonna stop there. So it illustrates that the Allied forces actually didn't really know what was going on or to the extent of what was going on. So what you're gonna do now and tomorrow is you guys are gonna work on some Holocaust stations. So everyone needs to get your Chromebooks out. You're gonna need your Chromebooks. Get your Chromebook out, John. I know, it's a little ridiculous. I feel like I'm cleaning up after my kids. All right, so everyone needs to get the Chromebooks out. And in your Chromebooks, you'll notice that there's a Holocaust station activity. And there are roughly 5 stations. I'm going to go over each one of them with you so you know what you're supposed to do. If you need a Chromebook charger, let me know. I'm going to walk around and make sure everybody's got this up. So pull up your Holocaust stations, please. Alex, you got your Chromebook?
Yeah.
Where is it? Got it. Not any good to you if it's not in front of you. Marilyn, Chromebook. Get your Chromebook back, please. I'm going to time you so you guys know and you guys understand how fast you probably should be moving. But a lot of these are videos and links you guys are going to go through. And honestly, I don't care what order you do them in as long as you just do them. Okay? So the first is you're going to watch a short video about the 4 phases of the Holocaust. And I kind of went over that there were phases of the Holocaust that get progressively more horrific as we go. And that the first phase is planning and propaganda. How did Hitler and the Nazi Party kind of help perpetuate the discrimination and the laws? And then the expansion and violence. And then this idea that they were dedicated to actually massacring entire groups of people. And then the death marches. And then you guys can go through and pick 3 people out of lots of different Holocaust survivors through this database. And you just need to tell us the name of the person you chose, their date of birth, and their country of origin. And you're going to talk about their life before the Holocaust, life during the Holocaust, and life after the Holocaust. And if you noticed from that video clip that I just showed you from Band of Brothers, a lot of them were just regular old people, teachers, right, grocers, violin players, right? They weren't criminals. They were just people, right? Regular old people. And so that's why it's good for you guys to get an idea of what their life was like before, during, and after. And then you're going to use that information and you're going to try to look for similarities and differences between those who were in the camps. And then, this is getting into some creepy stuff, but, so Hitler, remember Hitler's a little bit of a nutcase, right? We already know that from history. But he had a doctor who was under him named Dr. Mengele who would actually conduct these medical experiments just to see how things would go. And one of the things that he did was actually he sewed two people together to see if any sort of biological response would come from that. Yes. Remember this was a long time ago, so they were trying to gain like scientific knowledge, and they were doing these awful, horrific human experiments, right, and using people in the concentration camps to do it. So there's the twin experiment, and then you're going to watch a Holocaust survivor video and answer questions, and then you're going to get to go. Has anybody actually physically been to the Holocaust Museum in DC? Okay. So you're going to get to go online, and you get to choose whatever exhibition you want to from their website, and then you're just going to answer the questions about the exhibition. Is everybody in good shape? Everybody got their Chromebooks up? Marilyn, are you good? Kind of. All right. Go ahead and get started.
So, this video should tell us about each one.
Exactly. So it'll probably, you can pause it to answer each phase. Yeah, and if you read the captions, that'll help a lot too. Yes. All right, I'm going to start the timers. Again, I don't care which ones you guys do first. I'm cool if you guys want to work together. Like Marilyn and Kelly, if you guys want to work together, go for it. Okay?
We're doing equations, right?
Say that one more time.
Oh.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Make sure you throw your trash away too.
Yes.
trying to eat one. I'm eating hot Cheetos. Maybe not. The second one, I was going to. I took the bag every night. I took that.
Yeah, because the bag you got over there.
Yeah, I know. I'm thinking. I took the bag. I put the bag in. I was trying to take one. Nah, I ain't gonna take one. I just feel bad right now.
So if I can hear your music, it's probably too loud. If I can hear your music, it's too loud. What are headphones for if I can hear your music?
It's not my fault. I'm making it loud. You can't take it.
You doing okay? Do you need help? You guys doing okay? Many hands make light work. Why don't you guys work together? One of you can do each Holocaust survivor.
Where's that from?
You talking about what got you answered?
And you just have to get them to actually work. That's the problem. I know. And you shouldn't share your work unless they actually do theirs.
Who's doing what?
Give me the most easiest
This
job.
is Wiley.
Give me the most easiest job.
Well, they're all the same.
What you mean?
Sure.
I would do
You're welcome.
activity.
You do what?
But didn't you say you would do that?
Yeah, I'm the favorite.
Wait, really?
Huh?
To the front.
What?
They just called me. Whoa. Is that school property?
Oh, this is my natural property right there.
Those look like school property.
If you mind that, I fully bought this. I swear. Look, take the contract. I had to sign a whole contract.
But either way, take care. They're expensive. Either way, your mom would be on the hook for it.
Yep.
Whether it's yours or the school's.
Oh my God. There's so many providers.
Yes. To choose from.
Yeah.
I think it takes forever to load.
Really?
Yes, So what song am I doing?
So Kelly's out and Allie's asked.
What song? What song?
So when he gets back, you can go.
Oh, so I see.
I'm doing side two. Or no, he's doing side two, I'm doing side three.
You just
Which one's easier as the rest
I don't know.
So sus? What does that mean? Man. Is she going to the last night?
Yes, Maryland.
Can I get a written
No.
please?
I'm talk to me for a second.
No, it's actually.
We text each other in school. It used to be like in the elementary school. And that was very hard to do without phones. It is a lot of effort. You have to wait till the end of the block. Why does he have your money?
No, like my money fell out of my pocket when I was at lunch. My wallet.
How much does he have? I can call the
$35.
teacher. What room is he in?
I don't. He's not in a room right now. He's out in the hall.
Tell him to come up here.
Something here.
Tell him to come to room 305. Because then at that point he's risking getting in trouble himself and you're not going to get in trouble. You can give me the money. Yes. I'm going to give it to you. Of course. Don't worry. I just want to make sure your story is as 100% honest.
I'm not. You think I'm lying?
I'm not saying you are one way or the other.
He's literally following me there right now.
He's what?
He's literally following me there right now.
No, I'm not going to leave, but you can come up here.
I ain't wanting to try.
All right, that was your first 20 minutes. So you should have one station done, and if you don't, you might want to think about moving a little bit faster and concentrating. Maybe putting your phones away.
Is she going out after that too?
She's a what?
Am I next or someone else will?
Well, you can't be next because it's 10 minutes before bell's gonna ring.
It's 2:05 right now. 2:05.
You're not back in 3 minutes.
So I need.
All right. You have. Look at the timer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at the timer. You'll have to stay after to talk to me about what we're going to do if you're more than 3 minutes. Okay. Go. Hurry. Hustle. Be back at minute 8. Go.
Like I told you I was gonna be back.
Did you get it? Good.
On the home. Mm.
All right, I'm going to pause it here. So tomorrow, I'm going to pass out to you student conference sheets. We're going to meet tomorrow to have an individual conference because you have had your report cards and I'm gonna do a check-in to make sure that you guys are on the right track. You have the rest of the semester to make sure that you pass this class, right? You guys understand that this is a core class. You have to pass the class or you have to take it again. If you don't pass, you can't graduate. Okay, you have to, this is a class you have to have, okay? So I'm gonna pass this out to you, and I want you guys to fill it out. You can take just 2 minutes to do that real quick. Stick it in your manila folder, so that when we meet tomorrow, this gives you a point of reference, right? To figure out what are some things that we might be able to do if it's about bringing your grade up, or if it's about just ways that it might make the class better for you and your particular needs. I know I'm new, so it would be helpful to hear those things from you guys, okay? So put your name. If you know your current grade, do you have any missing assignments? You could check Schoology for that. And that would only be assignments that are like from term 2 and moving on. And then if you have missing assignments, list them. And then think about what are some things you've done well.
We're doing this right now.
Yeah, just real quick.
Oh, right now?
Well, no. The conferences are tomorrow.
Yeah, I do on my phone with like list of
Yeah, but I don't.
Oh no.
The only things we have so far, have you done the Russian one pager? No, that's missing. So just write that one down. I think you turned in World War II.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are really the only 2 that would count as missing work.
Oh, I have that Russian one.
You do?
I did it online.
Oh, okay. Just make sure you turn it in right. That's what I'm worried that
My bad.
you did the digital one. You did a digital one pager. So Miss Matheny will be in here tomorrow. Make sure you guys are on the right track
Two
for
quick
the station.
announcements. Bus F19, you will do a second run. Bus F18 will come to pick you up. Again, bus F19, you will ride bus F18 on a second run. Also, as a reminder, anybody planning on attending Friday night's football game, the state of Maryland has now said that we can only accept credit card payments for this game. So you can go to cadetathletics.com/buy tickets if you would like to pre-buy your tickets. Otherwise, you need to come with a credit card. We are not accepting cash at the gate this Friday. Thank you and have a good weekend.
It's weird.
I'm confused. What?
I wonder why.
Exactly.
I don't know. It's because it's like a championship game, right? Or not a championship, finals game or something. I don't know.
It don't make no sense. I don't have money on my card.
Because I used to go there. I could tell them
You
the
did?
but yeah.
You still in Nebraska? My husband, where did you go to elementary school?
Rockwell.
I didn't go.
My husband grew up in Nebraska. We went to Spring. Clearsburg. That's what he went to. He actually lived in the townhouses like right there.
My own. My family was right next to it was fun for the last year.
They moved to Newmarket when he was in middle school. He loved gymnastics. He said he used to ride his bike everywhere.
I used to.
Yeah, Jimmytown.
Yeah.
Did you go to Jimmytown?
Yeah.
All right, make sure.
It's small. It's small.
It is, like, it's small, so you feel safe on our.
Nothing from there.
I am.
You graduate. Born and raised.
Alright, I'm.
All right, make sure you put your papers in your manila folders. For those of you who like to snack, that's totally fine. Just put your trash in the trash can, please.
Not real, mom. I got all my trash up. But thanks. Anything else? It's not me, Mr. Wilder.
Sorry, I missed it.
I got all my trash up. So everything else is fine, it's not me.
Thank you. I want to be able to have the janitor tell me, wow, your room is so clean, except there are like some things.
I really been never the system. I got the phone from school and I
Well,
was
how do you have 2 Chromebooks?
I borrowed one. And I also got another one.
Okay.
And I only charged one. And the other one died.
Flash charger.
I'm going to
Yeah, I'm going this way, but I'm gonna catch one of my friends.
You get a catcher?
Huh?
You get a catcher?
Catch who?
Catcher?
Yeah, catch her.
You get pipe?
No.
Just kidding.
I'm there.
I'm gonna catch good. Do my password.
Mhm. Yeah, I can do.
You ready to press it?
No.
You ready?
Yeah.
You're probably not going to use it when you walk anyway. Alright, see you guys. Have a good rest of your day.
Two.
See you tomorrow.